In the spring of 1885, a lonely rancher spent 6 long months building a house for a woman he had never seen. He knew her name. He knew her handwriting. He knew the dreams she shared in her letters, but he had never looked into her eyes, never heard her laugh, never shaken her hand. His neighbors called him foolish. Some said the woman would never come. Others said she would arrive, see the harsh frontier, and leave immediately. Yet every day he kept building, board by board, nail by nail, hope by hope. What happened when that woman finally stepped onto his ranch became a story the frontier remembered for years. Stay with me until the end, because this tale proves that sometimes the greatest risks lead to the greatest blessings. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming Wild West stories of courage, family, and second chances. In 1885, Nathan Carter owned a modest ranch surrounded by open fields and rolling prairie hills. His land wasn't the largest. His cattle weren't the finest, but everything he possessed had been earned through years of hard work. There was only one problem. He was alone. Every evening after work, Nathan returned to a silent cabin. No laughter, no conversation, no family, just endless quiet. Eventually, he decided to answer a newspaper advertisement for correspondence. That's how he met Abigail Moore. At first, they exchanged simple letters, then longer ones, then letters they eagerly awaited every month. Abigail lived hundreds of miles away in Missouri. Nathan lived on the frontier. Yet somehow the distance between them seemed to shrink with every page they shared. One day Abigail wrote something that stayed in Nathan's mind. "I have always dreamed of a home filled with warmth, kindness, and family." And Nathan read those words repeatedly. That evening he looked around his small cabin. It wasn't a home, it was merely a place to sleep. The next morning he began building, not a cabin, a real house, a place where someone could belong, a place worthy of the future he hoped to create. Through rain and heat he worked tirelessly. He expanded rooms, built a larger kitchen, added a front porch, repaired fences, planted flowers near the entrance. Everything was done with one thought in mind. Someday Abigail might walk through the front door. Months passed. Their letters continued. Finally they agreed. Abigail would come west. Nathan folded her final letter carefully and placed it inside his pocket. For the first time in years, the lonely rancher felt something stronger than loneliness. He felt hope. And somewhere far away, a woman he had never met was beginning a journey that would change both their lives forever. The day Abigail arrived, Nathan reached the train station hours early. His heart pounded harder than it ever had during a cattle drive. For months she had existed only in letters. Now she was real. When the train finally stopped, passengers began stepping onto the platform. Then Nathan saw her. She carried a simple travel bag and wore a modest dress covered with dust from the journey. She wasn't dressed like a wealthy woman. She wasn't surrounded by luggage. But when she smiled, Nathan immediately recognized something familiar. The warmth from her letters. Abigail approached nervously. "Nathan," he smiled. "Abigail." For a moment neither knew what to say. Then they both laughed. The nervousness eased instantly. The wagon ride to the ranch passed quickly. They talked about the trip, the changing scenery, and all the things letters could never fully capture. When the ranch finally appeared on the horizon, Abigail grew quiet. Nathan worried. Maybe she disliked it. Maybe everyone had been right. Maybe she would leave. But when the wagon stopped, Abigail climbed down slowly and stared at the weathered wooden house. Tears filled her eyes. Nathan's stomach tightened. "What's wrong?" Abigail smiled through the tears. "You built this?" Nathan nodded. "For us." She looked at the porch, the flower beds, and the freshly painted windows. Then she whispered something he would never forget. "No one has ever prepared a place for me before." That evening, Abigail unpacked her few belongings. The house remained simple. The furniture was modest. The rooms were far from luxurious. Yet somehow the place already felt different. Warmer, brighter, more alive. Nathan noticed it immediately. The house he had spent months building finally felt like a home. And for the first time in many years, neither of them sat down to supper alone. The weeks that followed were some of the happiest Nathan could remember. Every morning, Abigail greeted the day with energy and optimism. She planted flowers around the porch, hung curtains in the windows, and filled the rooms with warmth that no carpenter could build. The ranch remained the same, but it felt completely different. Neighbors who visited noticed it too. The once lonely homestead now echoed with laughter and conversation. Abigail didn't just care for the house, she cared for the people around it. When a neighbor became ill, she delivered meals. When a family struggled, she offered help. Before long, the entire community respected her kindness. Nathan admired her more with each passing day. One evening after finishing chores, they sat together on the porch watching the sunset spread golden light across the open fields. "It's beautiful," Abigail said softly. "The ranch?" Nathan asked. She shook her head. "This life." Nathan looked at her. For months he had worried whether she would be happy here. Now he understood something important. Abigail hadn't come searching for a perfect ranch. She had come searching for a place where love, trust, and family could grow. And together, they were creating exactly that. As the stars appeared overhead, Nathan realized the house he had built with his hands had finally become a home, because of the woman who filled it with her heart. Neither of them knew what the future would bring, but for the first time, they were facing it together. As the seasons passed, the ranch continued to grow. The fences stood stronger. The fields produced better harvests. The house on the hill became a familiar landmark for travelers crossing the frontier. But the greatest success wasn't measured in acres or cattle. It was measured in love. One evening, nearly a year after Abigail's arrival, Nathan and Abigail stood together on the porch, watching the sunset over the prairie. The same porch Nathan had built months before she arrived, the same porch where they had shared countless conversations, dreams, and quiet moments. Nathan smiled. "Do you remember your first day here?" Abigail laughed softly. "I remember being terrified, and I remember thinking you might get back on the next train." She squeezed his hand. "I never wanted to leave." For a moment, they stood silently watching the golden light spread across the fields. The lonely rancher who had once come home to an empty cabin now had something he never thought possible. A partner, a best friend, a family. And Abigail, who had traveled west with little more than a travel bag and faith in a stranger, had discovered a place where she truly belonged. The house Nathan built had provided walls and shelter, but Abigail filled those rooms with kindness, warmth, laughter, and love. Together they had created something neither could have built alone, a home. If you enjoyed this heartwarming Wild West story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends who love frontier romance and inspiring tales. Remember, sometimes the greatest journeys begin with trust, a few letters, and the courage to believe in someone you've never met. 1885, he built a home for a woman he'd never met. She filled it with love,